and welcome back to my channel. As promised, today's video is going to be an about me Q&A sort of style video. I've seen lots of people in the past do about me tags, so it's kind of a bit like that. I've asked my Instagram followers to send me a bunch of questions, and they have. They've delivered very well. So I am going to be answering the questions that they have sent me in today's video. I actually have 12 questions. I was aiming for 15, but some of the questions were actually doubled. A couple of people asked them, so I just ended up squishing them together, and I've got 12 questions today. Hopefully by the end of this video you'll know me a little bit better, and if you do have any more questions about me and my life, obviously feel free to put them down below and I'll see what I can answer. I'm going to try not to spend too much time on each question. I know I tend to waffle a little bit and get a bit carried away with the things that I have to say, but I'm going to definitely try and not do too much waffling, so I'm just going to get on with the questions. So question number one is, what is your job? This one's a little bit of a tricky one because I don't really have one set job. From what I've said in the past, some of you will know that I am in the musical theatre industry and I have a lot of different jobs in the industry. So primarily I am a singing and piano teacher, and I teach privately from my house. I do that on a Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday evening. On a Friday evening I am the singing teacher at one of the biggest musical theatre companies in the country. I'm not going to go into specific details, but it's a well-renowned youth theatre company, so I do that on a Friday evening. On a Saturday morning I am the singing and piano teacher at a music school in my local area, and on a Sunday afternoon I am the musical director of a youth theatre company in my hometown. So I do a lot of different things. On top of all of that, I also run the choir and a drama club at one of the local primary schools, and I teach as the singing and piano teacher in one of the local secondary schools as well. So I have a lot going on in various parts of my life, and it takes a little bit of organisation to get it all sorted, I suppose. So yeah, I can't really specify what my one specific job is. I am self-employed, so I've got all of those complications with it as well. Music teacher and musical director is my general job title. Question number two is, you don't post about any pets on Instagram. Do you have any? The answer to that is no, I do not. I've never had a pet. In my 23 years on this planet, I've never had a pet. The dream is to have a dog, or several dogs, or a billion dogs. I absolutely love dogs. I think they're all adorable, and I constantly have messages from Ryan sending me pictures of dogs, or me sending him pictures of dogs, or videos of dogs, and yeah, the dog is the dream. So we actually have a Disney fund and a dog fund that we keep putting cash in so that we can buy ourselves a dog and a Disney. Question number three, how many times have you been to Disneyland Paris? Now, I keep getting it wrong, basically. I think one time, back in 2017 when I went, I said that I was going for my 16th trip, but I believe that was actually my 14th. And now I'm going for my 17th trip in April. I believe, if I counted correctly, April is 17. But equally it could be 18, and I lose track. I lose track of how many trips I've done. When you've been the amount of times that I have, you do end up losing track because I've just been so much. Question number four, have you ever been to Florida? The answer to that is no, I have not. Obviously, as you have just found out, I've been to Disneyland Paris a lot, but I've never been to Walt Disney World in Orlando. I know a lot about it because, being a fan of Disney, you do your research, you find out things, you watch vlogs, you read blogs from other people about their time there, and you pick up things about the different parks that you haven't been to. And Walt Disney World is obviously so popular that I have a lot of friends, a lot of Instagram buddies that have all been and continue to go. So I haven't been, and I do want to go, and me and Ryan have tried many times to come up with some sort of financial plan that allows us to go to Walt Disney World, but at the moment that is not possible. It's just too expensive, and when we go for our first time we want to go and do it properly. We want to stay on resort, we want to get the magic bands, that sort of stuff. You can significantly reduce the cost by staying off site, but we want to be in the whole experience when we do our first time. So it's quite difficult to get there, but we definitely want to go at some point because it looks amazing. Number 5 is an interesting one. It's, which do you like better, Avengers or Star Wars? Now, I took this question slightly less literally. I took it as Star Wars and Marvel rather than Star Wars and the Avengers. So between Star Wars and Marvel, I'm not emotionally attached to either of them. I've watched all of the Star Wars films. I've watched some of the Marvel films. I've watched all the Iron Mans. I've watched Ant-Man randomly. Anything with Tom Holland in. And obviously most recently Infinity War I have seen. As a general rule, I prefer Marvel films. I think they're slightly less complicated and slightly less specific to particular people. You have to be a Star Wars fan to really understand all the stuff that goes on in Star Wars, all the lingo and all the people that they're talking about, and I get a bit confused. I have to pause it, ask my brother, he gets annoyed because it's been paused. Whereas with the Avengers and Marvel and that kind of whole cinematic universe, there's slightly less going on. There's obviously a lot going on with the relationships between the different characters, but you can understand it slightly more. It feels a bit more real, mostly because a lot of them have their real identities that you can kind of relate to. So I think generally I would prefer watching a Marvel film than I would Star Wars, but I greatly appreciate what Star Wars has done for cinema and for cinema history and for Disney and all that sort of stuff. So I think if I had to pick one, it would be Marvel. Next question is, why did you start vlogging? Now this is actually this is a question that's answered in my first ever vlog, which, funnily enough, I've literally just remembered. I was wearing this jumper in my first ever vlog. That's a bit weird. Filmed it on my iPhone, and because I filmed it like up like this, and it was facing this, I had this like black screen either side when I put it in to edit, and I thought, yeah, that's fine, and I was wearing like fake eyelashes and all that sort of stuff. It was just a bit weird. But it's one of my most popular videos because it's quite informative. So I might have to recreate it at some point with my new knowledge. It was a tips and tricks video basically, so I might have to recreate that at some point, possibly after my Disney trip in April. But yeah, I started vlogging because I realised that I'd been to Disney so much and I had lots of tips for people, and it was actually inspired by one of my friends who was going to Disney, and she was taking her kids, and she kind of said to me, do you have any tips, any hints, any tricks? To which I said, actually yes, I have plenty. Do this, don't do that, don't do that. And I reeled off all this stuff and she went, wow, you know a lot. And I thought, actually yeah, I do. I've been a lot. I know the tips, I know the tricks, I know the hints. Why don't I share it with the world? Most people do Walt Disney World vlogging because it's obviously very vast, it's huge, there's a lot of tips and a lot of planning that goes into that. But I hadn't seen a lot of Disneyland Paris vlogging and tips for that, so I started it basically just to spread my wisdom, I suppose, and I have loved it ever since. Question number 6 is, when did you start singing? Now this is a tricky one because I don't really have a pinpointed time when I started to sing. I have always loved performing, I've always loved being on stage, I've always loved being in front of an audience, which is why this is so much fun for me, because in a different way you guys are my audience. And I started performing when I was very young. I was probably about 5 or 6. I've had a lot of wonderful experiences which at some point I will go into in a different vlog. I will talk about my experiences on the stage and screen, because I've done a lot of wonderful things and it'd be nice to share that with you all. So I started performing, and singing just kind of came with that. I realised that I was a good singer when I was in primary school, and all the teachers would say how wonderful I was, but you know teachers are supposed to say those things. They didn't say it to anyone else, it was just me. And I got opportunities to do parts in shows that other kids didn't, and stuff like that. So I started to think, okay, maybe there's something in this. And this is after I'd done all of the performing on stage and on screen. But that really wasn't my singing, that was my acting. And then when it came to my secondary school time, I would do auditions for shows and stuff like that, and people would be blown away by my voice. And at that point I was thinking, well, it's probably because I'm small, but my voice is quite big, that's probably what they're blown away by. But then I went to uni, and people were still saying the same thing, so I thought, okay, there must be something in it. And I think even if in 5 years' time someone said, oh, you've got a good voice, I'll go, oh, okay, must be something in this. I'm not sure you ever really believe that you're a good singer, because you're almost taught not to think that you're good because it looks arrogant. You know, in the showbiz industry, you're not supposed to say, I'm amazing, I'm a really good singer, because people judge you a little bit for that. I will certainly go into detail a little bit more about what I've done in my past in a different vlog, but the singing, it just happened. And my biggest singing happened while I was at uni, which was only a few years ago. Question number 7, this is my favourite. This is, what is your favourite song in Kinky Boots? This question is from one of my beautiful, beautiful friends who is currently in the UK tour of Kinky Boots. He is doing a wonderful job. I went and saw him in it in September, and I really do hope to go and see him again in it, as he is the first cover for the lead role of Charlie Price. So I would love to go see him as that. As of yet, I haven't really got a date that I can go and see him, but I'm hoping to make it happen soon. So yes, my favourite song in Kinky Boots. See, I love so many of them. It's so hard. So I love the first song. The most beautiful thing in the world, Charlie, that I know, the most beautiful thing in the world. The one about the shoes. I also really love Soul of a Man, but I think that's personally because I saw the friend who sent the question. I heard a version of him doing it, he performed it to me, and that's kind of stuck with me, that performance, so that's kind of a personal love for the song, because that was the day when he said, I want to play Charlie Price one day, and I was like, oh, now he is. Number 8 is, what is your dream job? Now that leads on very nicely from my previous question, because my dream job would be to be a performer in the West End or such likes. It's always been a dream of mine ever since having the childhood full of performing, but unfortunately these days you usually have to be going through all of the stage schools and having agents and stuff like that. There's very few opportunities for open auditions, and I just haven't got the time, the financial stability, all that sort of stuff, to go through another uni, in effect, another stage school. So it's not ideal, but it's still a dream. It's still a dream to be performing every night in front of hundreds of people. Next question is, what did you study at uni? And this one's very simple, I won't go into much detail. I studied at Anglia Ruskin University in Cambridge, and I studied music. The next one is, what is your favourite Disney movie? Now this is really hard. I've discussed this the other day with my mum and with Ryan, and I've kind of said I can't pick my favourite movie. It has to go into categories. My categories are favourite old animation, favourite new animation, favourite live action / hybrid, favourite character, favourite Pixar. So they were my 5. But since then, I've added more categories. So, favourite Disney Channel original movie, favourite animated non-musical. You see how hard my life is? Like, this is what happens in my brain. So I can't really pick favourites. But again, I'll be doing another vlog on this because I want to hear what your guys' opinions are. I will spare you the details. I'll do my favourite old and my favourite new. My favourite old is Peter Pan and my favourite new is Tangled. Now the last two questions I'm just going to bundle into one. It makes a little bit more sense like that. The last two questions are, how did you and Ryan meet and how long have you been together? We have been together almost 3 years. So our anniversary is in February. We met because we went to the same uni. I was in 3rd year and he was in 1st year. So he came into the uni, I saw him, he saw me, and the rest is history. We didn't get together until obviously February, but we met in the kind of October. So it took a little bit of time and a few complications along the way. But yeah, we have been happily together now for almost 3 years. I'm very glad I met him. So I hope at the end of this video you feel a little bit more like you know me a bit better. I want to know what you guys are like, and I know that you want to know what I'm like, otherwise you wouldn't be asking me these questions. And I'm very pleased that actually you guys sent me forward some questions, because it's a little bit of a worrying thing when you post something out on Instagram and say, send me your questions, and nobody would respond. It's a little bit deflating, I suppose, if that was to happen. But you guys did respond, and I'm really thankful for that, because I love hearing from you guys. As I say every single week, it's the community of the kind of Disney Instagram community that I absolutely love. I've met some wonderful people, I have talked to some wonderful people, and I just feel like I'm a part of this little group of vloggers who are all there to support each other and to help each other out. So I do thank you all for sending me your questions, because it makes me feel very loved. So next week's video is going to be all to do with the outfits that I'm wearing at Disneyland Paris. It's coming out next week, and I'm just showing you my Disney bounds and my outfits for each day of the trip. And because that's coming out next week, it makes me feel like it's getting a little bit closer, a little bit quicker. Because I've still got, well, when you're watching this, it will be 83 days for me before I go to Disney. So it's still a while. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys next week for the next vlog.